favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the organizational board meeting of April 18th, 2017.
So moved.
Bud?
Second.
Rogers? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, open a public hearing for ordinance 553-17 and ordinance amending chapter 3903 of the Village of Pulaski ordinances, parking restrictions. Parking shall be limited to customers only 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 212 South St. Augustine Street. 212A, that is? Parking shall be limited to customers only from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and is to accommodate a cut above beauty shop being designated by official signs as may be otherwise designated by pavement curbing. And Mark, did you have?
Yeah, the only thing I had is today I wanted to do a quick site, went out there as a site survey to look at it, and on our statutes, under Wisconsin statutes, we have to follow under 34653 sub 5, there's a 15-foot restriction from a crosswalk that is in the statute book, and we only have it painted probably about that far back. I think we have to follow the guidelines of the statute as well, so we don't leave ourselves a loophole for somebody to challenge us with, especially with a parking citation. It's the worst thing in the world because people fight that more than they do a traffic citation for $300. But that is something that the DPW can do at some point in time. I did pay her a visit, explained to her that those areas are not properly marked. And in front of Broadway, which would have been in front of your old store, would actually go back farther too. And the reason for that 15 feet is to make sure that we don't have a pedestrian, especially with the school zone, get clipped by a car because you come out from between no cars at all there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's cars parked, you have nothing to prevent it from you from seeing the child. So that is the only thing I had with it, is that if you're going to do it, we're going to have to mark that a little bit better. And I think that's just something I talked to Joel about. We're just going to do some measurements, and I think we painted on the old stripes for the last 20 years, and we really should mark and follow that a little closer.
Okay. Could I have a motion to open the floor?
So moved.
My daughter?
Second.
Bob Pulaski. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board over this issue?
Sir, the only, and I've talked to Chief Hensel about this, the only concern that I guess as a citizen living in that area would be that traffic that comes off of Summit that looks south onto South St. Augustine. And when they pull out there, if there is a vehicle parked in that area, it's almost impossible to see that vehicle until you're pulling out. Potential hazard. That's the only thing that I wanted to mention at all.
Yeah, those buildings sit awfully close. That sidewalk is pretty narrow there.
They're not off the sidewalk at all. The building that I'm in is just 210, and it is. You have the sidewalk and the building starts right away. So there is no leeway at all for observation.
If we push, like we're saying here, that crosswalk forward, do we have enough room for one vehicle?
One vehicle. That's what you're going to get.
And then that pushes it closer to that intersection.
Actually, it's not actually, it's going to be a little bit, but there's only one spot. You know, it's
Yeah.
just a bad spot all
Yeah, it
in
is.
all. And we cannot control people from parking on the street. We can ask them politely not to park there, but we cannot control that for that business. It's sort of like I explained to you
Yeah.
downtown Green Bay wanting to get close to a certain business.
Is that what we're looking at with this ordinance? Just that one spot, or are we
It'll be
going?
one spot, that's all you're looking at with
We're
this
open for
ordinance.
two, but there's not enough room.
Yeah. Does it make sense to go a little further back in front of the old Broadway building or Woozencraft building? Or?
And that would be up to you guys to do that. I think you probably would have to have that in the language though, Bill,
Mhm.
because you're gonna look at a different premise,
Right.
as part of that ordinance, you're doing it in front of this premise. It'd have to be, added into it before we could probably vote on it.
And they could park there now, obviously there's nobody in that building. I mean, could they park in
The
front of
tenants
another shop?
upstairs, you know.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tenants use that space. Pretty consistently, at least one vehicle there.
In the front of
A
the
little bit
building?
closer to the stairs.
Oh, okay.
But that parking lot also, for people that, well, I guess it's used for the salon, but otherwise I was gonna say the people that use that premise park in that parking lot.
And it's nice and close to that entry too. It probably wouldn't be much of a change for them, maybe even a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Okay, no further discussion? Did I have a motion?
Did the property owner seem happy with
I
the
don't think
ability?
she's happy with anything I had to say about it, but I had to point it out to her because, you know, we're gonna get challenged.
Yeah,
And especially, like I said, if you're gonna write citations and stuff for, you know, this particular place,
mhm.
we're gonna be challenged. So I wanted her to be aware of it.
And she didn't have any other
She
solutions?
didn't have any
that-
solutions, but, you know, I did ask her, did you talk to Dave over at Cocktails directly across the street?
Mhm.
And she said that she was gonna approach him, but, you know, during the daytime hours, he's generally not
Closed,
open.
Yeah.
A little bit harder, I know she has a little older clientele, you know, they have to walk across the street, that would be convenient for them, but there's an option.
Could I have a motion to close the floor
So move.
by Roger?
I'll se-
By Bruce? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 5, to close the public hearing to ordinance 553-17. Yes, we did.
I'll make a motion.
By Bob,
I'll second.
second by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 6, open public hearing ordinance 554-17 golf cart ordinance, a modification of chapter 38.11 of the current code of ordinances for the village of Pulaski. Chapter 38.11B, additional traffic control regulations, regulation of golf carts on village streets.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Doug,
I'll second it.
second by Bruce, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One thing I had on this one was, Bill has been working with me very closely, and the only thing I had was the concern about the contacting the Department of Transportation, which I can do, to get the signage up, because that's required by state statute. If you look in the one section of the ordinance, I have to contact DOT, and we have to place the signs. I would place them at the entrances to the village and just cover myself by doing that. So I will have to get an approved sign before we can, you know, be finalized with everything, but it's ready to go as far as the ordinance goes.
You said O'Connell had this?
Mhm.
They haven't had any issues as far as?
They're
Okay.
fairly common around the country. You know, and Oconto, Mark found that Oconto actually cited the wrong statute as their authority.
I looked it up, yeah, so I don't want to say that this is the verbiage in it, but we changed it to match what we need to. And
Mhm.
But the substance of it is pretty similar across the country. Other states have similar statutes that they operate under. So it's, a golf cart has a certain definition, and, you know, it fits into that. And some places allow it anywhere, some places allow it only on certain streets. So it varies with community to community, but it is allowed, so we wouldn't be unique in this at all.
the only place that I did recommend a bill to write in there is South Wisconsin Street. I do not want anything on South Wisconsin. First of all, you cannot operate in a 35 or more. but I do not want them operating on Highway 160 or 32, just as a whole, just for a lot of safety reasons. And you can get to any place you need to by using alleys and back ways. There's no reason to be on that state highway.
Any concerns, Mark, crossing the highway? No?
No. You got flat level plane here. I don't think we're gonna have any issues.
Okay, once Quick Trip comes in,
You still got a
Yes.
flat level plane. It's not on a curve. It's gonna be on a cross, straight across. You know. Like I said, we talked to Department of Transportation. Reed and I had that meeting a couple months ago, and that was discussed, the speed limit as a whole throughout this entire stretch, but that's a state highway. And they don't want to slow traffic down to impede traffic on that highway.
Okay.
I noticed in the ordinance, it says that they can have a maximum speed of 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's about what they go.
I was just wondering, has anybody ever checked that or
It's
anything?
wide open, I'm gonna guarantee you.
I think
You
mine
know.
tops out at 12.
They always seem to go faster to me, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how you tweak it.
And they go Tim Allen on it and boost it.
You know, the
See
whole
how
idea
pipes
about
coming out
behind
the
it is
side,
not
yeah.
to have modified units that that I would have.
And I think the annual inspection requirement will help keep control of that, so if somebody's, literally trying to boost the engine to make it go faster, the department will catch it when they do their inspections every year.
We had 16 in the city of O'Connell last year, and he said absolutely no problems at all. They're considering the UTVs. I don't want to go into that venue.
You go way faster.
in the event, Mark, that, let's say Polka Days, and you have some campers bringing their golf carts along and just a tour the village, whatever.
$35. You can do whatever
$35,
you
just
need.
for what?
If you wanna operate them, it's gonna cost
That's
$35.
Yeah, they must register it, but.
Correct.
Somebody may want to inform the Polka Days Committee to put that in their flyers or brochures or whatever, that golf carts are welcome, but you gotta make a contribution to the village in order to drive them around.
And I think it's just a fair thing, so that you don't have somebody without lights. That's the reason for it, Roger, is to
Yeah.
have real control over what you're doing.
Any further questions? Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
By Roger,
Second.
by Bob, and Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item number 8, versus is already been heard. Versus is already to be heard. Third time versus is already to be heard. Number 9, consider to approve and adopt resolution 1173-17, a resolution authorizing the issuance of $2,750,000 general obligation promissory notes and issuance and sale of $2,750,000 taxable note anticipation note in anticipation thereof, as proposed in Grady LLP and R.W. Baird award resolution. Bill?
Turn it over to these guys, they know what they're talking about.
All right, well, thank you for having me tonight. So this is really just to provide an update to you of what the final interest rate was on the construction loan, essentially, which is your tax bill loan anticipation note, which is going to give you the money to do the projects that you want to implement through the TID 4 and your capital improvement plan. And then next year, when the debt capacity is there, we're going to refinance for long-term debt. So I'll just kind of run through the issue summary and then really give you the next steps on the following page. So the issue summary is this was a taxable note anticipation note. The amount is $2,750,000. It's going to close on the dated and settlement date is May 22nd, 2017. It matures 1 year from May 22nd and May 22nd, 2018. The first interest payment is going to be when it's due, May 22nd, 2018. So there's going to be no payments pretty much through the year. And then the first call date is going to be November 22nd, 2017. This was non-rated, and the interest rate that the village received was a 2.02, and the lowest bid came in from Farmers State Bank. So there was two other bids in addition to Farmers State Bank. There was another bank called Zion Bank, which is a national bank. They came in at 2.15, and Waukesha State Bank came in at 2.25. So very all in the ballpark, with 2.02 being the lowest. So on the following page, it's very small. I realize that outside. But really, this is just an update to what you guys saw before. It just layers in that the final financing for this taxable no anticipation note. And then really the plan over the next 9 months is to work with the village to put you guys in the best position possible to get the best rating possible. Because the best rating from a rating agency such as Standard & Poor's or Moody's, the better that is, the lower interest cost you're going to receive on the long-term financing. So that's where we're going to work with Reed, Karen, Bill, and Jody to make sure you guys have everything in order. So when that rating call comes, you guys are in a good position. So that's really the next steps in this process. So you won't be seeing us for a while.
Any other questions of Justin?
The long-term rated bond, will that be less than 2.02?
No, because you're going to be taking it out longer, and so you think of it from an investing standpoint. If you buy a bond that's 10 years out, you're essentially taking on a little bit more risk because interest rates go up, they go down. So you're going to want to get compensated for a little bit higher interest rate for taking on that longer term debt. So it's probably going to be higher than the 2.2%. So I think in the financing plan you can see we have estimates in there with the taxable being at a 3.20% and the long-term tax exempt debt being right around a 3%. But that'll obviously change, daily until we go to next year and lock in the interest rates.
Thank you, Justin. Any other questions by the board? If not, I would consider to adopt a resolution 1173-17. And we'll have a roll call vote on that.
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt.
By Doug.
I'll second.
Seconded by Chris. Roll call.
Bruce Birchkowski?
Yes.
Roger Birchkowski?
Yes.
Robert Gajewski?
Yes.
Doug Prentice?
Yes.
Chris Smith?
Yes.
Robert Van Laan?
Yes.
And Reed Woodward.
Yes. Thank you for your help. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. You guys can stay for the rest of the meeting if you wish. Well, I've had no option.
Thank you.
Number 10, committee reports, the room tax commission. I'm going to ask Bruce I was not at the meeting.
Okay, the meeting from April 13th, we met with the committee. We went over the David Spielberg Regional Planning meeting that we had in February to try to find out what assets we have at the village as far as tourism. And then we kind of put some ideas down as far as how we're going to use the money. We talked about web development, possibly doing a destination map, and then the 3 events that we want to probably target is going to be Polka Days, Kashmir Pulaski Week, and the Antique Car Show. So at that meeting, that's kind of what we determined, and we're going to try to keep it around the budget of around $20,000 for that one.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning Commission met on April 19, 2017 at 6 p.m. and was just a review of chapter number 2, land use, as part of our comprehensive plan, and Aaron Schutte did the presentation. so there's no action on that one. Next was Root Tax Commission on April 20th. Again, I'm going to rely on Bruce.
Okay. We met again the week after and came up with some budget numbers as far as how to split that 20,000 up. Web development, we're probably a little bit high. We figured at 7,000. That's probably a little bit high. The 3 events, we're gonna split up the kind of $10,000 mark and split that up between the 3 events. And then, like I said, we're looking at a visitor's map. I'm not sure if that's gonna happen this year or for next year, but, and then Mary Wickman was gonna develop a criteria letter so we can meet with the 3 groups of how the money has to be spent and that they have to be liable for what they're spending it for, so we can document that.
Bruce, can I ask you a question on that? So the 3 entities are Polka Days, the Antique Car Show, and what else?
Cashmere Pulaski.
Cashmere Pulaski.
Yep.
Do you have, are there restrictions as to how they're supposed to use that money? You just say the Antique Car Show, what?
Well, the idea for the money from the tourism, from the hotel tax is used for tourism to promote the event. So either get it bigger, you'd make it maybe try to make it a 2-day event where you can bring people into town so they stay overnight, use the restaurants, that type of thing.
Okay.
So it's to make the event bigger than what it is now is what the goal is.
Can I make a suggestion to your committee in regards to Polka Days? We talked about this previously a year or 2 ago, I don't remember, but putting some type of flags on the poles, welcome polka fans, something, would that...
I would have to check and see if that fits the criteria. I'm not sure if that does or not. I know it's for, like web development, any print material, that type of thing to promote it. I'm not sure, but I've double check if it cover flags or not.
Might be a nice way to dress up.
The village, yes, yeah. I'll check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next is the economic, thank you again.
Yep.
Next is the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee of April 24th, 2017. Chris?
We had discussion about housing statistics in Pulaski for the last 60 days. Lots of activity going on. We talked about the Workforce Committee, which has been really, been going very well with the 4 major employers of Pulaski, and between the 4 of them, there's 100 job openings in Pulaski. And there will be a career fair day held on May 23rd from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Legion Hall. Which I think is exciting to bring people to one location for those 4 places. And then we also talked about assistance to local retailers for merchandising and marketing their businesses, making them more appealing and helping them to sell more and etc. As a seminar day. So that may happen, it may not, but it's out there to talk about. And then we recapped on the printer rebuilding on the last 2 meetings that the public had input. There was quite a bit of talk about maybe a demand for a kitchen incubator, so there was discussion on that. Also was brought up that there's a singular developer interested in the other part of the building. That concept is still being worked on. And then it was brought up in regards to Polka Dots has been sold and it will be in Compass Daycare. So they're taking reservations already and they should be opening around August 1st, which is good news for Pulaski. And then Mary Rajic presented the downtown mapping tool, and it's a tool used for selling or leasing current buildings that are downtown, and which is really a good way to put it on your website. Anyone can put it on their website to advertise that, which would be good for our downtown. And then our next meeting will be held on Monday, June 19th at noon at the Glenbrook School District Office again.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Next is the NEW Paramedic Rescue April 24th meeting. Bob?
Yeah, we met on April 24th. First thing was an annual meeting and elected officers. Tom Hiller was elected president, Del Zernicki, vice president, Dennis Kroll, secretary, and then Dick Smith has some health issues, so he asked to be relieved, and Randy Holowinski took over as treasurer. That was it for that. And then we went with the regular meeting. We had 51 calls in the month of March. Village had 29, and they were kind of concerned. March was a bad month for pneumonia, flu, and a lot of drug overdoses for some odd reason. They said it was really a bad month for that. And they said some of them would have been eliminated if people would have went to the doctor a day or two before and got a medicine, but they didn't, and it ended up going to the hospital. And then they took them. They had a call in either Metro or Shawano for one, because they were out and they had a helicopter for one call someplace. That was the call. Then he went into the finances. Well, he says, because it was a good month, we jumped from 3,000 up to 12,600 in the black after 3 months. Last year we were $13,000 in the hole at this time.
Wow.
That's $25,000 difference in.
It's quite a swing.
Yeah.
Good swing.
Then we went into the wish list. And like I said, last we talked about painting and doing this and that, and he gave us a list of everything they wished for. Well, there's a lot of stuff on there that he was wishing for that he can't get, and then they talked about some of that stuff should possibly be on the operating expense. Well, I didn't agree with them because we would pay 3 times more than some of the other, but they said one of the big items was washer and dryer. Because they said that after every call, they gotta wash the blankets and sheets. And if they get their uniforms dirty, they wash them. So they said that really should be on with the operating expense because it's something they need. And then we said, well, what about getting uniforms and stuff? And Gold Cross was there, and he said, don't even think about that. He said, because that's ridiculous trying to get a uniform outfit into. And they talked about getting money in this way and that way. And the only way we get money for that is from the refund that we get every year. And we spent a lot. We put a new roof on, it was $14,000. Put a new parking lot, it was $30,000. And we put a furnace in, that was $10,000. So right now we only got $10,000 left in there, and that's because this year each community put in $2,000 into there. So we said we got to watch how we spend it because we don't. That's the only place we get it. So we did approve to give $500 to start out for paint. They said that about 10 gallons of paint, they should be able to do the painting. And that'll take us up to June. Maybe we can afford some after that. We don't know what it's going to be. And they went and partnered with Bondwell, Navarino First Responders, Harrison Police and Fire, or Fire and Rescue, and NAW by CO detectives. And they cost about $1,000 for each community, and they asked if we would give them $500 for it on that, so, for the first responders. And they said, well, you don't know because they get a call and somebody's unconscious, they don't know what the oxygen level is, so by going with the 4 communities, they got a better buy on them. Mm-hmm. For what they paid, I don't know. So they bought them. And then the last thing is, they're working with the fire department quite a bit on a lot of different training, cross training. And then he says that he wants to meet with the new what do you call him, liaison officer, but he don't want to do nothing till after he's settled over there. Let him get done with his business before he even meets with them, because then he wants to go over some of the plans that they want. He says when he gets settled down, then he'll get in touch with him, talk to him. And they're going to be, for graduation, have a squad at school somewhere. And then Memorial Day services, they'll have the squad someplace. And I don't know, did I mention on the fire department, they talk, about getting money for that? When they stand by for fire, they don't get anything. And we said, then you start something, we said, let it go as a community service yet. Sometimes they're there 2-3 hours, it depends on the length of fire, but they said, who would you bill? We said, let it go as a community service, even like they do for the school and everything, for now. And if we do have to, if we have to buy stuff, then we have to either put it on the budget or somehow it gets more revenue.
You said they bought carbon dioxide detectors?
Yeah,
To go in a house and check?
right. The first responders are gonna have, so when they go someplace, they can check right away before they even go in.
Okay.
Fire department has that.
Well, that would be the fire department's job. If there's a large amount of CO, they're gonna go down just like the,
Well, that's why they
Person in the
want
house.
it. And if they're called out there, if there is no fire, somebody's just unconscious and they go in the house.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
They
in my
said-
opinion, that's still the fire department's job because they
Yeah, but if they aren't dispatched,
Well, usually they are if it's, but I guess
well,
that's
yeah, but
whatever the
not
protocol.
if it's not a fire, if it's somebody just unconscious in a house.
So, Bob, who's,
The first
so-
responders will have that.
Yeah, Bondwell, you said, and you named.
Navarino.
Agencies. So, NEW will have just one in their rigs?
No, they aren't gonna, first responders are gonna have
Yes,
them. I don't know how many they'll get, I don't even know what they are, how
We,
expensive they are, I don't.
Well, I forget how much they were, but they're expensive units.
There were 5 communities, or 4 communities went together to get them to get a decent price, so.
Okay.
Could you update us, Bob, on the number of first responders NEW has, or?
6
6?
first responders.
So, in other words, each one would get one?
Well, they each one, and because they're gonna give them to the, further, like, town of Angelica, it's got the most, responders out in the Rockwell area.
Okay,
And the village got one, and I think, town of Pittsfield has one.
okay.
But they wanna put them the furthest away, so we're policing stuff are closer here, so. I don't know, Mark, you got one in your car?
No, we rely on the fire department, they have a quick response time. And with the type of a 911 dispatch call taker information that they screen for, they should be able to screen in that process, determine that there's something wrong. If there's one or more people down, obviously there's something going on.
Well, they wanted it because they said they would be there first before the fire department.
I'm not gonna second guess what they do,
No.
that's.
That's their excuse. They're gonna pay for half, we're only gonna $500 for this. So we agreed to pay them that, so.
The only thing I had for you though, that is a concern of mine is, we get people that we have here, they develop chest pain when they find out they're going to jail. In the process of that happening recently, we had the rescue squad respond because I cannot overlook it because there is that possibility that they could be having something going on. And they did a transport, but then they turn around and they bill the village of Pulaski for it. That's not my responsibility. So let them know when they bill, that's the patient's responsibility, it's not the village of Pulaski.
But it should be billing the patient.
Well, they're not. I can show you the bill we got.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that, but they should be billing the
Yeah,
patient.
The patient should be
Should be
getting
doing
the
it, getting the billing.
It's happened twice
Okay.
in the last little while.
No, check with them out.
Yeah.
That it, Bob?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
and,
Oh,
I see this, Bob. So we're doing quite well, they have 25,000.
well, we got
Yeah.
12,000
We're
now.
not
Yeah.
at the finish
But we
line
only got
yet.
3 months in.
Yeah, yeah. What would you contribute that compared to last year? Do you remember what?
Calls,
Huh?
calls.
Just the amount of calls?
Yeah, we got 150 some calls this year. Last year, in the month of February, we had 14. In March, I think it was 15 or 16
Oh,
last year.
just
Last
way
year, we
down.
didn't have no calls at all.
Oh, okay.
It's just the calls. The more calls you get, the more you make.
Sure, sure.
And in a way, you hope you get calls, but you hope you don't, because then you're hoping people get sick.
Thank you. Next is the Park Use Ad Hoc Committee of April 25th, 2017.
I want to commend the organizations that we're working with in the Veterans Memorial Park, as well as possibly in the future the community park. The leaders in these organizations, I was concerned about having this discussion again with the $5 non-resident fees. And I started thinking, well, what can we do to kind of lighten the blow? Or in this discussion, each of the present members from the organization said, we don't feel we're giving enough. You know, this $5 for non-resident fees and what we give back to the parks isn't enough to maintain the toilets and, you know, all of our expenses. The lights, once we flip on those lights, there's a lot of expense there. So the only request that they had of that is that all parties pay their fair share. So even with our Reds playing in town, it ends up being maybe $100 a year. But, you know, playing on our fields, and they do an awesome job of maintenance. Last year, the softball and the baseball organization put back in $95,000 of work, and the fields look amazing. Stop out there, especially once the ball is being played. It's going to be neat to see some games out there. So Janelle's going to be working with her contacts at the high school to see what they can do to do their part for the tournaments that they do host here. I think it might be one or possibly two tournaments. And we've designed some rental agreements. Prior to this, we didn't really have we had a little bit of an organization of, okay, here's a calendar, it's darked out for this part and highlighted for this part for the different tournaments. Now we actually have some agreements that we're looking for approval on. With those agreements, it has everything to do with, this is the fee, this is what we expect of you for cleaning up what you've used. Please, with this application or agreement, submit a certificate of insurance, which will hopefully take some liability off of the village's shoulders. I'm going to lean on Joe. Did you want to send those around, or?
Everyone should have one in their
Okay.
packet.
I tell you what, I like this. This gives Karen or Jody or Tiffany something. If somebody calls in to rent it, they got that sheet. They can tell them what it is.
So the county park trails after, like, for the high school, to rent them for using?
This is mainly for the cross-country events.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. We love to see the parks busy, but we also love to see a document of this is who was here and when, and a little bit of accountability for any damage during their time on the clock and that sort of thing. We've been pretty fortunate that we haven't had much for vandalism and that sort of thing. But
It's a nice job.
yeah, so
Along those lines, you know, upon approval, we're gonna get this up on the website, so this is all up there. These will be able to download them from your own personal computer, have them filled out, bring them into the village with your payment. So they won't be needing to come here, get the form, go back. So should have everything ready as soon as they want to reserve a facility.
we did bump up the fees, or recommend that the village agree to the fees being a little bit higher to really help pay for some of the expense there. For non-residents regarding our concession and field rental at Memorial Park, we set that number quite high. We want to see that this is truly a bonus of our village property owners, and you know, our tax dollars are really favoring those folks, but also discouraging people from coming into the community that don't have interest in seeing our parks remain as beautiful as they are. So we went with $300 there versus, you know, the village residents $50. We saw that many parks around the area kind of did that same thing. Well, to have a park for a day is well worth the $300 and well worth the discount if you're paying your taxes to be able to save some money when renting a field or whatever else, so.
Does that occur, Doug, off and on with non-residents renting the park, like West Side Concession Building?
Not so common, but if we were making these big changes, now we wanted to make sure that we kind of cover our bases. So we have,
I think I've got 5 inquiries already this year, and with the diamonds the way they are, I think potentially it could be, last year it was maybe 1, maybe.
Listen, I have no objections at all. I think your rates are very reasonable. Yet, you guys did an awesome job here.
But on this non-resident, like the West Side concession stand, like, with the, Greg Olson comes in, he don't feed in for the diamond, he gets that all included with this price, right?
Correct.
So,
we saw other communities like Howard had, okay, this is this diamond per hour, and,
Yeah.
so you can really break it down, but does that create
you got a lot of bookkeeping.
kind of a mess? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
lot
some
more
they
work
were
for our
charging
team.
for even for practice, so much for
Yeah.
practice even.
So much for the lights.
Lights and yeah.
Oh,
I mean, how in depth do you want to get?
Right. So a lot of people are looking at like a one-day tournament type thing?
Yep.
Okay.
I showed this to my brother Jim, and he was gonna rent the Chase Town Hall for some doings for Gilbert, and that was a lot more because they got so much different stuff broke down in there that you pay, come out to more money than what we charge.
All right, so we're asking for approval on those rates. $50 a day for the residents, $300 for non-residents. We discussed lighting the USA flags around the outside of the diamonds. We realized at that point that Veterans Memorial Park, we should do more to recognize the flag. So there was a little bit of discussion of making the flag a little more of a centerpiece in our clover leaf design there out by the concessions, the B diamond and the C diamond, maybe center it there and bring a little more attention to the flag. But then we also realized we've got one beautiful sign that says Veteran Memorial Park, but there's a disconnect. We don't have those signs on Memorial or Glenbrook Drive, that entrance for the E diamond, or Lincoln Street for the D diamond and our main parking for those diamonds. So there was discussion of when's a good time, and maybe we'd focus on that as well as centering that flag. And they talked again at the previous meeting how great it is to have that opening day ceremony with our veterans coming in and showing honor to our flag. So I don't know if they reached out, but they said they were going to hopefully do something similar that they've done in the past.
Well, they will, I'll have to let them know, that's all.
Yeah. So I'm sure they've probably been talking with somebody over there and hopefully get that going again. So, but I think with putting those flags around the entire backstop of it would be the outfield fences.
It's a little distraction, yeah, actually too, isn't it?
A little bit of a distraction, but the expense to
Yeah.
keep them lit,
Yeah.
or the effort to remove them after each play, So I think they were focused a little bit more on continuing the improvements on the fields before moving to that point. But they liked the idea. They thought that was pretty cool. So that's all we
I was
had.
teasing Polka here, they said we gotta shut her down at 10 o'clock now, none of this 1 o'clock stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't go for that.
No.
Consider
I'll make a motion to approve the fee schedule for the park.
I'll second that.
That's by Chris. That is Resolution 1174-17. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The Tri-County Pulaski Fire Department directors met while I was out of town, otherwise excused. I will just include that in the packet for the next committee of the whole, so we can address anything that might be attached there. Next is the Room Tech Commission meeting of April 27th, 2017.
Yeah, we were on kind of roll there for April. Hopefully this will settle down here a little bit, but we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. So we met together. Again, Mary had the letter that we're going to present to each group for what the intention of the money is used for. We talked about the website design, probably between $4,000 and $5,000 to get a tourism website up and running. So we're going to get those aspects going as soon as we can, and once we get some other information about some other advertising dollars through the Convention Bureau, we'll set up another meeting and get that going. So
Okay,
I think we're on track.
Next is to consider, approve, and adopt ordinance 553-17, an ordinance amending chapter 3903 of the Village of Pulaski ordinances, parking restrictions at cut above beauty shop.
Read it, could I just add on here, if you look at the draft in section 9, or 9A where it lists the address, you want me to, excuse me, you want me to add to that it's for customers only?
Yes. That was the intent of the board, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll just add that before it gets published.
Thank you, Bill. So I'll have a motion to approve the ordinance
So moved.
by Roger,
Second.
second by Bob Van Lammen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 12, to consider, approve, and adopt ordinance 554-17, the golf cart ordinance
I'll make a motion to approve.
by Doug,
I'll second.
second by Bob Pulaski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 13, to consider payment request Robert Lee and Associates as per Paul Welter. I think we've got two. This is the invoice 72024 for $334.38. And professional services on the Memorial Park building, an invoice amount of $10,458.22. And that is basically for the on-site inspector, is most of that fee, I believe.
By and large, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
By Doug,
I'll second.
second by Bruce, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Item 13A, amended agenda item. And we have a payment request. And I can't find my paperwork here, just a moment. Paul, you want to touch on the progress report?
Sure. Actually, I'm sure everybody's probably taken a drive by and seen the building safety structure over at Memorial Park. And then over at Community Park, things are going along well. We're not pushing that one as hard. It is being pushed, but we're really pushing them on Memorial Park. Basically, by the end of this week, the roofing will be on. Actually, the windows I drove past tonight, the windows are already installed. Probably early next week, the siding will start and be completed. All the plumbing, HVAC, and electric rough-ins will be likely completed by the end of the week. Actually, I think that the plumbing is pretty much done. Electric's trailing a little bit. We have one hiccup. The electric service with We Energies, the application to We Energies, is trailing a bit. And the contractor and his subcontractor are really pushing We Energies as hard as you can push We Energies. It's kind of like pushing a string though. And the contingency for the first
or second weekend, basically around Memorial Day, is if we can't get the service in, either We Energies will provide a temporary service or contractor will provide a generator to run things. But they are pushing We Energies, and actually We Energies is going faster than I thought they would. They're responding pretty nicely. So somebody there is using some pretty nice influence somehow on them. Okay. Painters will be there next week, and we're really, it's moving along, I hope, kind of on schedule.
So we have a payment request of $193,317.50.
I'll make that motion.
By Bruce.
I'll second it.
Second by Bob. Did I ask you? Any other questions? I would encourage all of you to, especially the Memorial Park, to get a really good, it's going to be quite an upgrade from what we've had.
Do we have any rentals for that in May?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. That's all. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 13 nays. Number 14, Mountain Bay Incorporated Development Village of Pulaski, Brown County. That's part of the developer's agreement. They're asking for the third draw. The documentation was appropriately included. And it's they're requesting $64,415.83 as draw number 3, which I believe will be the final draw that's available at this phase. Could I get a motion to approve that?
I'll make that motion.
By Bob,
I'll second it.
by Doug. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 15, to consider approved payment request, Pulaski Tri-County Fire Department, invoice 609, first quarter runs. The amount of $2,983.75
So moved.
by Bruce,
Second.
second by Bob Van Laan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 16, to discuss and consider to approve applications for permit to keep fowl within the village of Pulaski as per resolution 1065-2011, adopted June 6, 2011. Bill?
There's two components to this. One, we have an ordinance that regulates the keeping of fowl and other animals in the village. And to deal with this, it was decided back in 2011 that the board would look at a request to have chickens or other fowl on a case-by-case basis, almost like we do with having 3 dogs. And so that was kind of the genesis of this, to bring it back to the board, review and consideration as to what you would permit under what circumstances. The lead up to this is a little bit like the dog situation again, where you need neighbor approval and those kinds of things. So that's kind of how it works. That's kind of how it gets here.
Okay, now we've got
Chad Majewski.
Chad Majewski. Could I mention the floor for Chad?
I'll make the motion to open the floor.
By Doug?
I'll second.
Second by Bruce, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Well, I'm Chad Majewski. This is my fiance, Lisa Gateman.
So, just our proposal for us why we want chickens. We have a pretty large family, and so fresh eggs with more nutritional value is something that we would like, as well as having our kids take care of them and help, responsibility.
Where do you guys live at?
46 West Green Bay Street, so it's right in,
We have
there you go.
I got a picture of where we live.
And you rent a duplex, right?
Yeah. And then we do have the signatures of the neighbors and our landlord's signature. And we just put approved by all the neighbors in our area.
Chad, this is Green Bay Street?
Yes, West Green Bay Street and Patrick Lane.
Patrick Lane and West Green Bay Street.
And he is in Brown County also, that residence.
That's still
is in
Brown County, okay.
Here, the property that you have here, well, what direction? This is the property that you have here, right?
We
Not-
live in the
not this-
right. We live in the duplex with the X on, and then that's why we had the approval
Okay.
from the neighbor right by us.
All right. So plenty of room to move these cages around and,
Yeah, here's and then we just kind of a description of the cage that we're gonna make. Each animal, each bird requires 2 to 3 square feet of living space. So the coop itself would be 24 square feet, and then they require 3 to 4 square feet of a run. So if they're roaming outside fenced-in area, would be 10 square feet per chicken. So total would be 60 square feet of the run. Now the coop would actually sit on top of the run. So that way we kind of save some space that way. We also want to make it mobile. One reason is we'll move it along the lawn. They can pick at the fresh grass. All their droppings would get moved instead of a stationary coop where you have the chance of more varmint coming in or something piling up, you know, if it's not cleaned well. So we're looking to have it moved quite often, maybe twice a day, 3 times a day.
How many chickens?
According to what we found from the village, that we're allowed 6 hens and no roosters. And out of all the neighbors that we talked to, they were all very excited.
As long as no roosters.
Yeah. There's 2 of them that asked about roosters. We're like, no, we're not allowed any roosters.
They're gonna let you make omelets.
Yeah. The only trouble we're having is in the statement that we got, we need to get the permission from the Brown County Department